What's up, guys? Are you thinking about purchasing a home in 2024? Well, there are some things you need to know about because the real estate market is already up and running, already doing crazy things, multiple offers on fire this spring market. And it's very interesting because interest rates actually have gotten a little bit worse. So that's not it. So stay tuned for all that. We're going to dive in what you need to know if you're planning on buying a home in 2024, especially in Denver, but really anywhere. It's Jeremy Kane here with eXp Realty living in the Denver suburbs. I do this every single year, just kind of give an idea of what it might be like or what you need to know before buying a home in the current year. This year's 2024. So let's get into it. While you're here, like, comment, subscribe. We're on all the channels right now. We're going live on a couple. So make sure you're sharing this with anybody who's considering making a move. I would love to have a conversation with you about anything Denver real estate or really anything. So reach out, send me a DM, shoot me a text. All that information will be in the comments, but let's get rolling. So 2024 is here. We still have high interest rates, right? And as I expected, when the interest rates came down a little bit in December, if you've been watching the channel, we saw a ton of applications and things come into the market. Well, over the last week or two, interest rates in late January have actually ticked up a little bit. Nothing crazy. As expected, I think we're going to stay kind of somewhere in the sixes, hopefully. And we don't go too high or even too low, because that might be bad news for you buyers out there. I will tell you that early reports are multiple offers, some bidding wars. I've heard $50,000, $60,000 over asking price. Now, that's a metric that I don't really put too much stock in because people are either pricing low to, get bids and things like that. I will tell you that I did see some houses that didn't have offers on Monday this week that maybe were a little bit smaller or had smaller kitchens or whatever. So those not so perfect homes are sitting a little bit, but nothing like they were in October, November, and December. If you are looking to get a deal, I would suggest waiting, until December, November, October, but that deal is relative, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of move on. So first things first, preparation is the key. When you're looking to get a home, this market is not for the faint of heart. You have to be ready to roll. And so if you're, getting all geared up and you're getting that pre-approval and everything, obviously you want to make sure you're talking to a lender. I'm not one of those agents that won't show you any houses before you talk to a lender, because I like to get you excited and get you into those homes and do some of the fun stuff before we dive into the credit and all of that. So if you are interested in a scouting trip, definitely book a call with me. I'd be happy to take you out, see some houses. It helps me understand the market a little more, and I can answer any questions about the process there. But definitely preparing yourself for what's to come. Likely multiple offers. The biggest thing that I see is that there may be multiple offers, but it's more about the things you can offer right now, because we're most usually not seeing the crazy $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 over asking. Certainly I've heard about it, but it's not the norm quite yet. However, the multiple offers, the competing, the offering, extended stays and all of those things are certainly things that we need to keep an eye on and focus on, because the more flexible you are, the more prepared you are to offer the seller as much as you possibly can. That doesn't necessarily have to be incentive-based. Out of the gate is super nice. And so I talk to people a lot, and the biggest thing that people aren't ready for is the speed at which it happens, right? I don't know how many times I've shown people a house. We've really dialed it in. We show them a house on the first day. Well, I don't want to buy a house on the first day. It doesn't matter. And right now we don't have enough inventory to wait for that perfect home. So if it checks a lot of your boxes, you're ready to go, you could see yourself moving in, or it's a good investment, we can act pretty quickly. And it doesn't take very long, right? So homes are going under contract in 24, 48 hours. Typically, if it gets the weekend, they're gonna wait if it's multiple offers. But if there's not offers on the table by Saturday afternoon, I typically say, let's fire away and see if we can get a quick acceptance. So just prepare yourself for that, and to be ultra focused on the variables that are presented. What happens when you like a home, my process is I definitely send you some comparables, make sure the value is there, and then we make a game plan. I also call the listing agent and have a conversation. So I'm going to be able to tell you, hey, they're absolutely can't move out until March 30th, or they're really looking at this, whatever the things that the listing agent will share with me, I'm going to tell you. Now, the fact is, after I tell you those things, we have a short amount of time. And if there's no offers, it's an opportunity, right? And so we're going to work through that. But the more we prepare ahead of time, understanding the contract, understanding the process, all of those things, the less we have to talk about then, and you can just focus on the offer details, what you're going to offer, what's included on that specific house, and we can move forward. So this is super important because I still see a lot of people be like, okay, let me sleep on it. Sleeping on it could mean multiple offers come in. Certainly, we probably wouldn't get an offer accepted if we put it in at night and, come back in the morning to an accepted offer. But you never know, right? People are home from work, and technology now, we can present those offers pretty quickly. So the quicker you're ready to go, the speed at which we're ready to pull the trigger, so to speak, is really important. And I think that some buyers are having a hard time getting back amped up to that. Not that you all that are in the market now were in the market a year ago or whatever, but it's just taking a little bit more time. We got comfortable, we're thinking about it. Now, with that said, the preparation is where it's at, right? If the numbers make sense, if they fit in your box, if it's a house that has all of your, must-haves and none of your non-negotiable, items that you can't live near, highways or whatever, then if it fits that box and the numbers work, let's go, right? And, certainly there's the emotional feel and all of that to the home, but we're going to have the strategy. We're going to have the preparation. We're going to know that the numbers work, and we're going to get them dialed in for that house. And if it rolls, we can write an offer, 15 minutes after seeing it. It can be done 15 minutes, signed and sent over, and we look extremely motivated and ready to roll on this property. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be way over asking or anything like that. However, those details that emerge from that conversation will be part of our strategy moving forward. And I have strategies, I suggest strategies, but ultimately you build it, with my guidance in the best form possible. Hey, this is what the comps are. There's no other offers, but there's some, other showings and things like that. This is what I suggest. And we're going to kind of go from there. And if you say, hey, I'd rather offer 5,000 less or 5,000 more, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to say, okay, let's roll. And so we're going to put it together. We're going to present you in the best case scenario and move forward. And I think that's kind of what's going to, kind of define 2024 is understanding that we're prepared, being all in, ready to go. You've already committed to paying a higher interest rate than maybe you saw your buddies pay or whatever a couple years ago. So if it makes sense, we're going to believe in the investment and go. Now, I will also tell you that within this market, without the crazy multiple offers coming in now, this is also deal specific, is that the inspection is super important. Buyers or sellers especially are willing to do a little bit still. I'm seeing in the market, they're out there, certainly it's a seller's kind of advantage in the market, but they're still willing to do some of the major things. That's ultimately what I suggest anyways, which we talk about in the preparation is, hey, the inspection isn't necessarily to beat people up on cosmetic items or anything like that. It's to make sure that the house is ready to roll when you're ready. And so if we kind of dive into that and understand what buying a home is going to look like and we're ready to go, then we can ultimately give you the best case scenario. And that's exactly what I want to do. And I love to compete and I love to get you all the best deal. But just know that that's what's happening. And so as it's getting more and more competitive, certainly if the interest rates dip, it's going to bring an influx of buyers to the market. And so you're going to be in more competition, but we can navigate those waters. I'm super dialed into what's going on, and I work really hard to build those relationships with those other agents so that we know exactly what we need to do in order to get the offer accepted. And then it's kind of up to you. Do we want to make it happen or not? So I hope that really helps. Now, best practices for offers and things, we are advised not to do the love letters and that kind of stuff. like I said, I will give you a kind of gray box that, hey, this is what I think will, knock it out of the park. This is what I think is throwing our hat in the ring. And this is just kind of letting them know we're interested and probably won't be accepted, but that's okay. We can gauge the market with that too. Sometimes people like, okay, I'm, not going to do this. I'm not going to go over ask price, that kind of stuff. One thing I will tell you is the list price is very, very negotiable as far as, who knows what they're thinking. Sometimes people price it super high. Sometimes people price it right where it's at. Some people price a little bit low in order to get offers. What I will tell you is it's not a price tag. And so you're not getting a deal if some seller says, hey, I want to list my house for $525 and it's worth $500. The comps say $500. You offer $500 and get it. That's not necessarily a better deal than a home that's worth, $565 that, maybe you can get for $560, right? Because a lot of people see that listing price and they think that's a price tag. It's really a conversation starter, and you don't know exactly what the seller's strategy looks like. So I work really hard to focus on what the market value is kind of worth. Sometimes I'll say, hey, I think it's worth about $525, but it might take $535 in order to get there. And so we have different strategies. I'm not going to share them all on YouTube here, but we have different strategies that we can talk about. However, I'm pretty good at getting my clients under contract pretty quickly because of that. Even if they don't have a ton of money for, down or waiving inspections or any of that, we don't want to do that, especially in this market. I think we still have opportunity to get those things worked on. So keep those best practices in mind as far as the list price is not a price tag. Understand the inspection is for, major items, things that might be high ticket items for you in the near future. And I think if you go into that and make sure that all your ducks are in a row, I think you'll be really, really happy with the result. Another thing is, there's a lot of stuff out there, more and more we're seeing some earnest money kind of disputes and things like that. It's not necessarily your loan availability deadline, it's just a deadline to get out of the contract. It's not like you can go put a bunch of offers in and, choose which one and do that. So there's a lot of things that were kind of bad practices that were put into play in the years past. And so I would caution you and guide you against doing those things, which I always have, but we can talk about that as we go because those strategies are not necessarily acting in good faith. And that is a portion of the contract that I hear quoted a lot right now because of all the craziness we've seen over the last few years. Sellers are now not getting way over asking price. So they're a little bit tighter. Buyers also are paying a higher interest rate, so they don't have as much cash to spend there. So I hope this helps, and understand that this isn't just me giving you the information. Like, we will have a strategy dialed in for you when the time comes to help you understand everything that you want to understand about the process and make the best decision moving forward. And a lot of that has to do with our relationship, our conversations, understanding what your goals are, what your vision is, because some people are like, yep, 2 to 5 years, just getting out of this one house. We're going to be in this house and then we're going to move, we'll be in a better job situation or whatever. We'll be able to move into our dream house. And so I, dive into that and dig into all that because I use that, because if you want to sell this house in 2 to 5 years, then we need to be very careful on not over, bidding and things like that. I hope you understand that the market is competitive. I want you to hear me that it's in no way like it was in years past. So if you're looking to buy, reach out. Would love to chat with you. Shoot me a text, DM, and we can go from there. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.